car crashes, defective products, dangerous drugs, injuries, and abuse. Across the state of Alabama, the attorneys, proudly sponsored by the law firm of Hollis Wright, are here to serve you. Your tough legal questions answered by our experts with the attorneys of Hollis Wright.
Hello, I'm Art Franklin, your host for The Attorneys. We thank you so much for joining us. This show is so important because we've been looking forward to it because we know that you will get some information that will make a difference in the lives of so many families. But before we get to that, we want to remind you that right now you can make a call and reach one of the attorneys from Hollis Wright by calling 1-844-LAW-TALK. That call is free, it's confidential, no one has to know you made that call, but you can get some good information. Now, that right there is Josh Wright. Yep. We also have Erin, and I told you I was going to do this, Erin Adams. Her name sounds so much like Erin Andrews. Yep. We talked about that before times, but Erin Adams is with Mothers Against Drunk Driving. Good information, Josh, that we're really going to help people out. Yeah,
you know, your intro to the show is great because there are lawyers right now standing by, whether people want to call, text, email, hit us up on Facebook, Twitter. We are available. We've got legal advice that we can provide related to this topic. This is an interesting topic for me. As you probably know, Art, and we've talked about this off air and on some of the shows, I do a tremendous amount of alcohol-related litigation in Alabama, and it involves drunk drivers a lot of times. You know, when I started getting prepared for this show and started looking at some of the facts that Erin helped us put together to get prepared, every 45 minutes someone passes away due to a drunk driving accident. So this is a really prevalent deal, and not just a prevalent deal, but something that I deal with every day at our law firm in dram shop litigation or alcohol-related cases. So, Erin, first of all, thank you for being on.
Well, thank you for having me.
It's not every day we get to have someone that is involved in the MADD program come on this show, and we appreciate it. First, tell us a little bit, like, you're not from Alabama. Where are you from, and how did you get here?
I am from Virginia, and my husband is in the military, so we're going to be here in Birmingham for at least the next couple of years.
That's
so we're
great.
very excited to be here.
All right, so tell us a little bit about kind of your role with MADD and what MADD is.
Yeah, so I'm a victim services specialist, so I work directly with the victims and survivors of the drunk driving crashes. MADD was founded in 1980 by a grieving mother after her daughter was killed in a drunk driving crash. At MADD, we like to use the term crash rather than accident because it is a choice that is made to drink or use drugs and then drive. The MADD's mission is to fight drug driving and drunk driving, serve the victims of this crime, and to prevent underage drinking.
So one of the things that we've seen in the legal world over the last 5 to 7 years is that it's not just about drunk driving, it is about drug driving. And alcohol is a huge component of these accidents, but so are drugs. Which have become more and more prevalent over the last several years, and something we deal with.
And the thing about that is really the awareness and educational component of what MADD does, not only for the children, but also for the parents as well. Can you speak to the types of things that you guys are doing to get information out to the parents, because they've got to know how to have the right conversations with their children?
Yes, definitely. So we do have a few prevention programs that focus directly on preventing drunk driving or ending drunk driving and fighting drug driving, as well as preventing underage drinking. So we have our Power of Parents program that focuses on directly on the parents to give them communication tips to provide talking points to prevent drunk driving and underage drinking. We also have the Power of Youth program, which focuses directly on the teens to encourage them to make healthy choices and to be a positive influence for their peers to prevent underage drinking.
What's the format for that? Like, is it in schools? Is it outside the school environment? How are you getting that information to those youths that are starting to drive?
Yeah, so this is a part of our prevention program. We have a prevention team who does community events and goes into the school to provide these points and communication tips.
So your position, you're actually counseling people in some of their lowest moments, which is aligned with what we do as a law firm that handles personal injury related claims. A lot of times that's what we're doing too, is we're serving almost in a counseling capacity and a legal capacity. That's got to be tough. Not everybody can do that. Your personality is warm and welcoming. It looks to me like you fit that perfect.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. But it is definitely something that we like to do, is provide emotional support. We like to provide victims the knowledge of how to guide through the criminal justice system and the civil justice system as well, and providing them information on crime victims' rights.
Can I go back to the part about the tips? Can you give us an idea of what are those tips like that you give parents to help them have that conversation?
Yeah, so the prevention team, they provide them information, they provide them books and just talking points of how to directly prevent underage drinking.
Mm-hmm. And so talk a little bit about, like, give me an example of an actual circumstance that comes in. How are you assigned to, let's say, it happens in Alabama or it happens in Georgia. How are you assigned to that individual, and how do you make contact with them? Because I know it's got to be very difficult to do that.
Yeah, so we definitely do have a few different ways that victims can come to MADD, or we can get in contact with them. One way is for the victim to contact our 24-hour, 7-day-a-week manned hotline, and from there they will be connected to a trained certified advocate who will then be transferred to their state. So they would come to Alabama, and myself or my state mate would be able to assist them. You can also reach out online, and we can contact MADD Alabama directly and to get services from victim services specialists.
Erin, tell us a little bit about the MADD structure itself. I know you're going to be based in Alabama now, even though you're kind of hail from a different area. But how is MADD structured? Is there a representative that is directly in Alabama, or do you share multiple states? How does that work?
Yeah, so right now there are currently 2 victim services specialists in Alabama. I cover northern and central Alabama, and my state mate covers South Alabama. And
are y'all, both of y'all, from the Alabama area?
So she is, yes,
okay,
she is, but I am not. So I'm still learning my territories, but I'm getting really good at it.
And now talk also a little bit about, like, the legal side of this. I know a lot of times that there are legal implications, whether it is on the criminal front or even on the civil front. Does MADD get involved in that? Do they help lead, guide, and direct people for legal help if they need it, or how to deal with district attorneys in criminal matters? Just explain a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we do provide some information about how to guide through the criminal justice process, because it can be very overwhelming, especially when you're grieving or you've been injured in a crash. So we do provide information on how to work with that and what to expect, and information on victims' rights as well. We also provide civil justice attorney referrals as well.
I know we're getting ready to go to break. Mm-hmm. When we come back, I want to unwrap even more about kind of the types of cases that Erin's seeing, and also just kind of in general terms, some of the things that they're seeing that are trends in the just kind of trends in this industry.
So as you can see, there's a lot of good information that Erin is already providing, and more to come, as Josh mentioned. And we want you to know as well that we have ways that you can get in contact with Hollis Wright at any time throughout the week. Just contact us on the social media platforms, on Twitter, on Facebook, and also on Instagram as well. And again, that number is 1-844-LAW-TALK. There are attorneys standing by right now to take your call live. You can talk to someone. We've still got a lot to unpack here as we talk with Erin Adams with Mothers Against Drunk Driving. We're going to take a break. We'll be back with the attorneys right after this.
I'm Josh Wright with the law firm of Hollis Wright, a personal injury law firm, and thank you for watching The Attorneys. We hope you, a friend, or a loved one never needs legal counsel for a case. But if you do, the goal of the show is simple: to provide answers and legal counsel when you need it the most. Your call to the show is free and off air. So if you have questions specific to the show or related to other accident or injury topics, call, email, or text us. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, or go to hollis-wright.com and click on the Contact Us button. We know your time is valuable, so thank you for spending it with us and watching The Attorneys.
The The attorneys, proudly sponsored by the law firm of Hollis, Wright, are here to serve you.
When we started the show 8 years ago, my hope was we would be able to do what we do best, which is to help people answer real-world legal-related issues they have in their life.
People oftentimes are confronting various legal issues and problems in their lives that range across the gamut of legal practice areas. Bankruptcy, criminal law, family law, just to name a few. And to be able to have a 30-minute platform or format to where we can just cover various legal topics once a week, that's obviously the primary focus of the show.
That we would be able to use the resources of the many lawyers we have at this law firm to create a plan that had a lasting impact that also gave back to the community at the same time. And I think we've done just that with the attorneys. When someone drives drunk and they injure another, there are firms in Alabama ready to make sure they never do it again. Our attorneys are standing by right now to give you a free consultation. At Hollis Wright, your result matters.
And we welcome you back to the attorneys. Throughout the show, you may have noticed that we put up useful information on the screen that provides certain tips and certain information that really can change your life. So make sure you pay attention to those, keep those in mind, because we're putting those up so that they can help you. We are talking with Erin Adams. She is with Mothers Against Drunk Driving. And Josh, before we went to break, we talked about some of the legal parts of it that we wanted to explore.
Yeah, and when you think about it, a lot of times I think there's an interplay between Erin and the group that she is here on behalf of and what we deal with on the legal side, because a lot of times there are both criminal implications and civil implications on the legal side, as well as counseling and services that Erin and her group provide. And so, really these two things join together to provide kind of a full service for an individual. And a lot of times, as Erin mentioned in the first segment, there are going to be circumstances where there are legal-related issues that people need to be led, guided, and directed through. And that's something that our firm just kind of consistently does. One of the things, Erin, when we went to break, I wanted to kind of unwrap a little bit more some of the services you guys provide. I noted in just kind of talking with you in the break that you guys do a really good job with outreach with law enforcement officers who are intimately involved in these cases each and every time. Talk a little bit about that, because I think it's really an important component. Yeah,
so definitely a way that we want to recognize them for superior DUI enforcement is by our law enforcement recognition event, which provides an award and a pin for their heroic actions of getting drunk drivers off of the street.
And do you allow people to nominate certain officers throughout the year? Kind of how does that work?
Yes, so currently we just had our nomination period where officers are allowed to nominate their deputies or troopers or officers, and that way they can be recognized during the event.
Do you see trends with certain states where either the civil dram shop laws or the criminal DUI laws are more lax in certain states, where you see more accidents and trends in other states versus Alabama, for example? Do you see that? Or
so that's something that we do see, and that is something that we do try to work with, and allowing the victims and survivors to learn more about the dram shop laws.
Yeah, and you think about it, Art, when I was trial lawyer president years ago, one of the things we did is we lobbied at the legislature, and MADD always had a voice at the legislature related to dram shop litigation, criminal laws related to DUI, and they always had a presence in Montgomery for that type of legislation whenever it was brought up.
And Josh, you talk about MADD's voice, not only that voice there, but also their impact. I wanted to go through some of the numbers there. Since they were founded back in 1980, let me just go through some of the numbers. Drunk driving deaths cut by 50%. 400,000 lives saved and counting, 900,000 victims served, and 2 out of 3 people will be impacted by drunk driving in their lifetime. To me, that was one of the statistics that really stood out. 2 out of 3 people. How are they impacted? In what ways are you guys serving them?
So if somebody is injured in a drunk driving crash, they could be injured, somebody could be killed, so their family members could be getting services. We provide them emotional support, and we provide them information about how to write an impact statement or how to complete an application for crime victim compensation forms. But we provide services to anybody who has been impacted in any way by a drunk driving crash.
You know, you raise a really important point, because we're going to do another show in the coming weeks related to restitution and how you can use a criminal proceeding to compensate you. And when we think of MADD, sometimes we just think of drunk driving deaths. The reality is people are a lot of times left with catastrophic injuries. They did not pass away, and they've got huge medical bills, et cetera, that was no fault of their own. Part of the service you guys provide is assisting them with impact statements, assisting them with being able to apply for restitution, those types of things.
Yeah, definitely. We help them through the Alabama Crime Victim Compensation Commission. We help them complete that application process, and that way they are able to get some of those funds reimbursed back to them.
All right, now talk a little bit about caseload, because I know no different than my caseload and the work that Art does. Sometimes we get heavy, sometimes we're light. Where are you right now as far as like number of victims that you touch, you know, on a monthly basis or yearly basis on your caseload?
Yeah, so typically the caseloads do fluctuate depending on the needs of the victims. We always try to put their needs first, so I never want to give a specific number. However, we are never offended if a victim family comes in, then comes back to us for needed support, because the grieving cycle is like a wave. It goes out and it comes back in.
Yeah, and you know, I would think during holidays, sometimes that'll come up, anniversaries of events that happened. So it sounds to me like a lot of times you're there to provide support in circumstances when they need your help.
Yes, definitely. We always meet them where they are. We provide outreach and just kind of check in with them, but also they are more welcome to contact us as well. We never want to think that we are not there for them, because we always are. What
a great organization.
It is indeed. And can you tell us what it's like when you first make contact? I can imagine how difficult that situation may be.
Yeah, so we do try to be a trauma-informed organization and use trauma-informed practices, but we do reach out. We can reach out by phone, email, video chat, anything that they would like that would make them comfortable. And we do complete an intake using our trauma-informed practices just to try to get as much information about the crash and provide services to the family.
Do you find yourself sometimes dealing directly with law enforcement in cases, or do you kind of stay away from that and allow law enforcement to do their thing?
So we don't try to get involved as much with law enforcement. We let them complete their investigations, but if the family does have questions, then we are able to advocate on their behalf as well.
I noticed one of the efforts that MADD has is called Tie One On for Safety, which is, I kind of like that phrase. To talk a little bit about that and what that entails.
Yeah, so Tie One On for Safety, or TOOFS, is our longest designated driver campaign, and it runs from Thanksgiving Day to New Year's Day, which is typically the high point in traffic crashes.
I know we're getting ready to go to break. When we come back, I want to talk a little bit about some of the things that have changed in the United States that have impacted, in addition to MADD, impacted the reduction in drunk driving accident numbers. Uber, I'll tease with that. Yeah. We'll talk a little bit about it when we come back.
All right, we'll put a pin in it right there. We've got a good discussion going on here with Erin Adams with Mothers Against Drunk Driving, and you can have a discussion going as well by calling 1-844-LAW-TALK and have that discussion live right now with one of the attorneys from Hollis, Wright. We want you to know that they will take your call. It's free, and it is also confidential. Something else we like, we love hearing from those of you at home, our viewers. In fact, when we come back, we've got a viewer question, and we'll take that and more right here on The Attorneys right after this.
I'm Josh Wright with the law firm of Hollis, Wright. As with any industry, it's important in the legal world to hire an attorney that is knowledgeable and has a track record of success. But with so many attorneys out there and so many different types of cases, how does someone decide the right lawyer to hire? In this week's Legal 4-in-1, we're answering the question, what should I consider in hiring an attorney? In-state versus out-of-state, big firm or little firm, recommendations from friends or family, the internet or TV. With so many choices and so much information, it can be an overwhelming task trying to make the right decision. To complicate things, choosing a lawyer is an important and sometimes life-affecting decision and should not be taken lightly. So how do you select an attorney? First, do your research. Look the firm up on the internet. Learn about the cases they handle and the results they get. Second, find out what clients are saying about the firm. Many websites provide client testimonials or have a star ranking system. Use those to your advantage. And finally, talk with a lawyer from their office and ask them questions. Questions about the volume of cases they handle. Do they return phone calls? Are you just a number or a client that gets the attention you deserve? Please remember, your call, email, or text to the attorneys is free. All of us at Hollis Wright want to help answer your questions on real issues you face. Remember, a competent lawyer will respond to every question you send in. That's our pledge and promise to you. Thanks for watching The Attorneys.
Hollis Wright handles cases every day where a drunk driver causes an accident and injures someone. If you've been a victim of a drunk driving accident, give us a call for a free consultation. And remember, at Hollis Wright, your result matters.
We want to welcome you back to The Attorneys, and we're having a great discussion with Erin Adams from Mothers Against Drunk Driving. We also love hearing from our viewers, and right now we have a video question from Claire for The Attorneys, so watch this.
Can a bar or restaurant be held responsible if they overserve someone and an accident occurs?
Now, you know, Josh, that's one of those common questions we hear about that during this time of year.
Yeah, so we have done lots of shows on this over the years, over the last 12, 13 years on dram shop litigation, and really all that is a fancy word for alcohol-related cases, and our firm handles a lot of those. The short answer to the question is yes, the bar, a restaurant, convenience store can be held responsible for the conduct of overserving. The law is a bit complicated, but the reality and kind of the net of all of it is if you can show that someone was visibly intoxicated and was served alcohol during the time they were visibly intoxicated, you can be successful in a dram shop case. There are a lot of different ways to prove that someone was visibly intoxicated. Forensic evidence with blood alcohol concentrations is one of them, as well as witness statements, even habit of the bar or facility for overserving. So there are a lot of ways you can prove it. One of the things I would highly recommend is if someone finds themselves in a circumstance where they were involved or they've been touched by a drunk driving accident where they think someone was overserved at a bar or a convenience store or a restaurant, get a lawyer involved, because the law is not easy to navigate on the civil side all by yourself. You want to make sure someone can lead you through that process.
So Claire, thank you so much for that question, and we knew that we had the legal mind to give you that answer right there.
All right, so when we went to break, one of the things I wanted to ask you about is, and Art mentioned part of this, since MADD has been around, the numbers have decreased significantly for drunk driving injuries across the United States. MADD is a huge component to that, there's no question, as are other organizations and victim groups that help. What are some of the other things that you see that you think have decreased the number of drunk driving accidents over time? Definitely
the knowledge that is put out there and the technology, that is definitely something that has been decreasing, but also the awareness, the prevention programs that are put out there, and then the support from the community as well.
And I think, like, the number of times that my wife and I, for example, take Uber, whereas we used to never do that, right? that number has increased over time. It's just a safer way to travel, right? Especially if you're going to go out together to go to dinner. And so do you think those types of technology out there like Uber and Lyft has also impacted it?
Yes, definitely. Rideshare is a huge part of it, and is a partnership that we have with Uber as a way to promote to not drink and drive.
Yeah. The DUIs and penalties are over the last decade have changed drastically. In fact, there were some significant amendments in 2011, 2012 to the Alabama Code associated with drunk driving accidents, what qualifies as a drunk driving event, and the penalties. And the penalties are significant. So that has also clearly been a deterrent, at least in Alabama, related to drunk driving.
So as those laws change, the attorneys of your firm are constantly being updated with how they have to address those for your clients.
Yeah, and not only that, you know, I was lucky enough back in 2009, 10, and 11 to participate in the Alabama Beverage Control Board adjustments to the regulations. There were some adjustments that we made associated with the civil side of what happens if someone is involved in a drunk driving accident. Are there civil implications? And we helped craft some of the rules and regulations that are followed in Alabama now associated with the civil cases.
That's good stuff for Hollis, Wright. Before we end this show, I want to talk about something that Josh touched upon, and those are the partnerships that you have with other organizations and agencies out there. How important are those partnerships, and how do they benefit MADD?
They definitely are very important because they benefit MADD, but they also benefit the victims and survivors that we serve because it allows them to find more support within the community.
What do you recommend if there's someone, and I know sometimes shows like this are, it's a little intimidating. You see someone on TV, you're like, they're saying I can call Mr. Franklin saying that it's confidential, off air, and I can have a conversation with someone. But it's still intimidating, right? And one of the reasons that we try and do this show is to make it less intimidating for people to see us every single week to say, you know what, I'm actually going to call because I have a legal issue that I need help with and see if they can help me. If someone's struggling with this right now and they're like, I'm just not sure I can call MADD, like, you know, that seems like an intimidating process. What do you recommend to them?
So if calling is not what you would like to do right now, then you can definitely reach out to MADD online. You can email MADD Alabama for support as well, and a victim services specialist would be able to get back to you and provide you with those services.
You guys have a great website too, so it's super easy to find folks because I looked it up, and it's easy to find folks if they need you.
Yes, definitely. We make it user-friendly.
And you have to feel good about the successes that you guys have had. How does that make you feel?
Well, it definitely does make me feel good. However, it is all for the victims and survivors that we serve. We definitely try to put them first in everything that we do.
You know, and you know, here's the deal. If someone is not able to get directly to MADD, I want them to know that they can use our text line. They can call us and we can get them directly to Erin or to a representative from MADD that can assist them to the extent that they've been involved in something like this. But Erin, it's been awesome to have you on and just to hear a little bit about the successes of what MADD has done. And I can tell from your personality, it's infectious, that you really love what you do.
I do. I do love everything about MADD, and I love working with the victims and survivors.
Well, thank you so much for being on today.
Thank you.
We love the fact that you were able to join us here on The Attorneys, and always, Josh always has great information, and we love the fact that you joined us as well here on The Attorneys. Make it a day. Join us next week, same place, same time. We'll be back here for another episode of The Attorneys.
Thanks for watching The Attorneys, sponsored by Hollis Wright.